Buckle up, friends, and welcome to the Thriving Alcohol-Free Podcast. I'm your host, Deb, otherwise known as Mocktail Mom, a retired wine drinker that finally got sick and tired of spinning on life's broken record called Detox to Retox. Let this podcast be an encouragement to you if alcohol is maybe a form of self-care for you, where you find yourself dragging through the day waiting to pour another glass. I am excited to share with you the fun of discovering new things to drink when you aren't drinking and the joy of waking up each day without a hangover. It is an honor to serve as your sober fun guide, so sit back and relax or keep doing whatever it is you're doing. This show is produced for you with love from the great state of Kentucky. Thanks so much for being here and big time cheers. Okay, hey friends, it's Deb. Welcome back to Thriving Alcohol Free. How are you? I am so happy you're here. We have a very special guest today, actually a member of Thriving Alcohol Free, Kendall Olsen, who I absolutely love. If you guys are not following her on Instagram, please do so. Stop what you're doing right now. Either write down her Instagram handle. It's just on TikTok, Libations_library. So we'll have it in the show notes, but you need to follow her. She does these great things called mocktail minutes. So Kendall, welcome. I'm going to read your bio, but I just want to say welcome. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
I am so happy. We've been planning this forever since before.
I know.
When I was recording the podcast or the mocktail summit and stuff. So I was like, let's record together later on once 2025 starts. And perfect timing. But I'm sorry, you have a little cold today. This is not.
That's all right.
I guess it's not perfect timing. You're a little sick today.
It's okay. Par for the course.
You sound great. You look great. So
okay, good.
Yes. Let me read your bio for everybody so they know who you are. Kendall Olsen is a longtime educator and school librarian who will soon embark on a second career as a licensed professional counselor. She's a former member of the hospitality industry. Kendall has served as a corporate restaurant trainer and is a self-proclaimed non-alcoholic educator and a certified mixologist. Her latest concoctions and educational videos can be found at Libations_library on Instagram and TikTok. So welcome. And you're from Missouri. Is that where you live?
I am St. Louis.
St. Louis. Oh my God.
Yes.
My dad grew up in St. Louis. He's a very big Cardinals fan.
Yes, of course. I mean, as long as, is that the game with the brown ball, the orange ball, or the white ball?
Because you're not really into sports. I'm not really either. This is not a sports podcast, so don't worry. No one cares.
Okay, well,
yes.
I picked off all the St. Louis people I know. So I love the Cardinals, but I'm an 82 girl, like the World Series back then. That I can relate to. Now I have no idea what's going on.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that so funny you say 82? Okay, so my parents then moved to Philadelphia. That's where I grew up. And in 1980, the Phillies won the World Series. So growing up, my parents always voted, listen to me, let's just do that. Season long. We know what we're running for anyway. We were cheering for either the Cardinals or the Phillies growing up. So
great.
Very fun.
Love it.
Yes, very fun. Okay. I would love for you to share maybe your sober curious journey or your journey of starting sharing on Instagram. Would that be okay to kind of start
Sure.
How you got into all this?
So, back in 2023, at the very end of the year, I really started getting into creating cocktails for friends and family. And I kind of was in some Reddit, in the Reddit for that. And I was really reading a lot about cocktails and was trying them while I was going out. And then in January of 24, I had my very first total knee replacement. All of a sudden, my cocktail making came to a halt. I was trying things at home, but I would have to take a drink and then pour the rest out because of all this heavy duty medication I was on.
Yeah.
And I have since had my second total knee replacement in May.
Wow.
And I started taking a medication called Lyrica, which helps with things like my fibromyalgia. And I got such total relief from it that I decided it was really important to take. I'm going to be honest, I had kind of looked into it a little bit before. And one of the reasons that I didn't pursue it was because it very clearly says you should not drink while you're on it.
I understand.
And I thought,
yep.
I just don't know if I want to do that. Well, things, got really serious when you get total knee replacements. I mean, it is brutal. And it really gave me so much relief that I decided there was no reason not to. So I will say that I still have the occasional drink. I had a chance to try green chartreuse in a last word cocktail this last summer. And so I took that opportunity. But I think in 2024, when I counted up, I think I had maybe 2.5 drinks total.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And now if my husband orders a drink when we're out and I have a sip, he's not much of a drinker, but if he does, I'll have a sip and it just tastes, it's just too strong for me now. It's just, I've sort of lost my taste for it. So, the thing about alcohol with me is that there have been some times in my life where, I've had some unhealthy episodes. When I divorced my husband when my son was 3 and my son is now 20, because of his substance use disorder, I was really conscious about how I was consuming alcohol in front of my son as a single mom. I knew that I was the primary caregiver for the most part. However, 1 or 2 weekends a month, my husband and his family would have complete, charge of my son, and I would go out with friends. And it was like I was making up for lost time because it was just one binge after another, Friday night, Saturday night, and it just became too much. And so I really have had trouble since I started drinking when I was in my early 20s in regulating. And so for me, it's just kind of been a blessing that I've been on this medication. It's showed me that I can live without it, for one thing, but also that I enjoy living without it, if that makes sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I did get my mixology certification as part of this whole thing. I realize I'll backtrack in a minute and explain how I completely got here in the Instagram space. But so I did want to try some of the alcohol that I was learning about in that mixology class. And so I took little sips. And again, it's just not, it was another reinforcement of the fact that I just don't really like it anymore. So I just started creating all these mocktails on paper when I was sitting on the couch recovering. My husband works from home, so he was behind me in his office.
Okay.
I was binge watching Netflix and I was creating all these mocktails on paper, mostly because I came across in the cocktail forums something about mocktails. And I can't say whether or not this is true or for sure, but I have a very strong feeling that it was Ian Blessing in there who was posting.
Interesting.
And he has been very active in the mocktails Reddit in the past. I know he has a lot going on right now with the opening of his new store. But I really became interested in that mocktails subreddit. So that's kind of where I started learning about things.
Wow.
And then I just started accumulating all these spirits and started trying them in different drinks. And it just kind of took off from there. And I thought, with the amount of time that I'm spending crafting these things, I really should document them. And so I did. And I just decided to post for friends, and the response was great. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just keep going. And I have posted every single day since I started last June.
Really?
And so, yeah, a lot of it is my own recipes. I would say about 75% is, and then about 25% are somebody else's. But when I first got started in this, a couple of important things happened. One is that Derek Santiago, the mocktail whiz.
He's the best. Shout out to Derek.
Right?
He's listening. We love you, Derek. We love you. Yes.
Absolutely. I saw his stuff on Instagram, and right around that time he was publishing his book. And so I ordered it. And I just started making recipes out of that book. I have gone through his deck and his book, and I'd say I have made about 80% of his book.
Wow.
And at least a third, 25% to a third of that deck. And some of them are the same, but I just really love the way that he makes everything so simple.
Agree. His recipes are fantastic.
Fantastic. They really are.
Yep.
They really are. And, they are. And I love how he not only takes classics, but he also, he has a rose mocktail in there that he made for his mom.
I know.
And, he does bring a personal touch, and he's just such a great guy all around. There's so many nice people in this space.
Agree.
I have just loved getting to know the people. I mean, it's been so much fun.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And another group of people who I love happens to be the ladies at Raising the Bar, because around that same time, I also learned about them and I subscribed, and the rest is history. I am very proud to announce that I am in the first cohort of their brand ambassadors.
Great.
I know. Isn't that exciting?
Kendall,
I know.
Congratulations.
I know.
That's huge.
It is for me, because it feels like coming home in a way, because they have just been so encouraging from the start. And when I had to create a video for them, I really decided to focus on the fact that I was Generation X. It's held me back a little bit, but I feel very comfortable in your community.
Let's lean into it. Yep.
I mean, absolutely. And I said, if you have ever seen movies from the 1980s, then you know that a rite of passage for people my age was, as much drinking in high school as you could accomplish, and it was celebrated. I mean, that's those movies. I mean, I think That's what all of them are about. It's just, it's crazy. And so alcohol has always surrounded me in one way or another by one person or another in my immediate family or in, just in the greater groups around me. And so I just really feel like it's important for people to see our generation, if I may. I know you're class of 89, right? I was 90. So I know.
Yeah. I'm 53. Yep. Class of 89. Yep.
And so I think it's important for people to see us in the space. Everyone talks about Gen Z, and we do exist. And when I go in and look at who's watching my stuff on Instagram, it's a lot of people my age. It's millennials also.
That's
a
great.
handful of younger people, but it really is more people my age. And so I love that. And I love that hopefully I'm encouraging them to make some mocktails. A friend of mine reached out in last fall and said, hey, can you do a mocktail workshop for me and some friends? And she's a wonderful person and she just loves to get different people together. And I said, sure, I'll do this. And so I went into her house and I had a lesson plan because, I am a teacher.
You're a teacher. I was going to say, you have lesson plans. What is that?
I do. And it was 4 pages and God bless them for putting up with me, but
you're so
it was
cute.
ridiculous. Well, it just was so thorough. And I realized, I'm coming on a little strong. This is a little too much. And so that's how the Mocktail Minute was born. That's how it was born. I thought,
seriously,
I need little snippets. Yes, I need little snippets because people really did want to hear what I had to say. It was just a little bit too much, but
I love that. Yes. 4 pages, a very thorough plan. Yes. Yeah, that's a little long.
We tried. Yeah. I had them trying ready to drink. This was a room of 20 people and I had them trying 6 different ready to drinks in little cups I was pouring and then went to, the 6 different kinds of spirit. It was just, so anyway, here we are. There's enough material there to last me at least 2 years.
I was going to say, yes, this is going to be a lot of mocktail minutes. Yeah, you're all set. You've written your curriculum.
Right? I know. And, a few other things happened along the way to encourage me. Kristen Vracco, who owns Cheeky and Dry up in Seattle, reached out to me early on. She owns a bottle shop and she just said, hey, give me a call. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'll give her a call. This was very early on.
Okay.
And I did. And she just really encouraged me. And this was before I was doing Mocktail Minutes, but she said, there isn't a lot of education going on in this space. I love to see it. And she really encouraged me. And then Amber Siebel of Gather reached out and had me
so sweet.
Working with some, oh my gosh, isn't she? And so I have just felt really supported along the way by a lot of really great women, a lot of really great men too. But I just did not expect this group of people to be this amazing. I don't know what I expected, but I have just been very pleasantly surprised by it.
There's something so special about the sober community, the mocktail community.
I agree.
There really is. I don't know how to explain it. It's just, unless you're in it, you don't get it. That it's so supportive. I feel like it really is like the rising tide. We're lifting everybody up. We're encouraging one another. And then in turn, bringing more people into, come on out. Just even if they're just trying mocktails in between their cocktails, I don't care. I just want people to know there's good things to drink without alcohol.
And, that's interesting, too, that you say that, because I know we've talked about zebra striping before. You've talked about that on your podcast, which I love, by the way, and I am a listener.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. But what I have found is that when I go out with friends now, I don't think they're self-conscious, because these are people that I know very well, about the fact that they're drinking and I'm drinking a mocktail. But what I've noticed is a lot of them are zebra striping when they're with me. And I think that's awesome too. They're willing to try drinks that they may not have been willing to try otherwise. And they're really pleasantly surprised by them because there is some really great stuff happening with these, just all sorts of people. That's the other thing I love about this community. There are people creating elixirs and teas and spirits and syrups and all kinds of stuff from all different walks of life. The diversity in this space is amazing. I love all the different people that I've been able to meet. It's just been a joy.
Yeah, it's been a joy. I totally agree. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so how has education prepared you for all of this?
In terms of creating the Mocktail Minutes, I think I have a general idea of what a good catchy lesson plan. I know not all of them are great. Some of them
they're great. They're great.
A little more. Well, thank you. Are more well planned than others. But just the idea that I got to get that hook in there right away. I've got to say what I got to say in the beginning because kids and adults both don't really want to listen all the time. And so I get it in there, and I will admit they're not always a minute, but I try to keep them very short and just try to get that information in right away. So I think that having that background, I was a corporate restaurant trainer and a service bartender back in the day.
I cannot believe that. Okay, so you were a service bartender, seriously.
Very briefly. And this was back well before craft cocktails. And so this involved, I am in St. Louis, pouring a lot of Anheuser-Busch and, mock and margaritas and things like that. And I spent most of my time in the serving space. I served for several years as I went through college. But yes, I was a traveling corporate trainer, and I owned a few restaurants. Yeah.
Really? Really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was intense. That was, here's one of the things that I say to a lot of people. There are lots of hard jobs out there. The people in the restaurant industry, they work their tails off. I remember the first week that I worked in the restaurant industry, I went home and cried every night. I just was not used to that level of
abuse.
Of work. It's hard.
Abuse.
Well, right.
Abuse is what it is. Yeah.
Abuse. And back then, in the 90s, there was a lot of abuse. But I also have been very cautious about honestly encouraging my children to go into that space because I just, there is a lot of alcohol
it's
there.
Rough. Yeah.
And that's because the work is so hard. It just is. And so I learned a lot from that too. And I think that all these things have really led me to this point. It's just really fun how everything has kind of come together. And now that I'm back in school to become a counselor, at this point in time, I'm leaning towards adults, families.
Really?
Yeah, and groups, because I'm not afraid of speaking in front of groups. I really think I'll be working with adults mostly. But, it's going to help in that regard as well, because I will be taking an addictions class here next semester. I have now been in contact with a lot of the sober community. I recognize some of the signs of substance use. Just in myself and in talking with other people whom I've met. And I think this also will really help me in my second career. I've been taking one class a semester. So, I've been with several cohorts. I'm watching all these people I started with. They're practicing now, which is kind of fun. But I planned it out because I'm a planner. That's what a lot of teachers do. We're planners by nature.
My sister's
okay,
that way.
Right?
She'll ask me, she'll be like, what are you doing? And it's like 2 months down the road. What are you doing for this? I'm like, what am I doing for this? I don't even know I'm doing at 3:00 this afternoon. I don't know.
That's what and then we come up with funny times. At 12:47, I need to do this. And at 1:26, because we live and die by the clock. That's what we do.
That's true. The bell.
Yeah. And so I hope that it'll kind of come together that way. That's what I'm anticipating. So
great. And I'm anticipating your mocktail book. That's what I want to see. That's going to be phenomenal.
So that's really fun that you say that. I have always been a writer, and I have had a few things published.
Amazing.
Not anything, mostly teaching materials, things like that. I really thought, and I heard Ian Blessing say this too in one of your, I really thought all this information gathering would lead to a book.
Right, because he's got his kind of written. Right. And his would be like the Bible of mocktails.
It would be the Bible.
Yeah.
It would be the Bible.
Yep.
I have interviewed a lot of people anticipating, conducted interviews by Zoom just with brand owners.
Great.
Like Naina Mugai from No Leak spoke with me, and I was so privileged to hear her story. And, I'd love to do something with those things someday, but also I don't have to for myself, for my own fulfillment. And I also really try as much as possible to lift up the people who I'm meeting, who I really think are doing great work. I love to give. I have a very modest following. Let's be honest, but I love sharing the great things that I'm finding with everyone else. And,
it's awesome.
And I also, I do want to mention one other thing, if you don't mind.
I don't mind. Yeah, I would love for you to.
Someone reached out to me a few months ago from Mighty Kind, which is a local St. Louis brand also. They make botanical seltzers and CBD seltzers, and they make THC seltzers. Now, I work with the botanical seltzers and the CBD seltzers, and I make mocktails for them. And so to have a partnership with people who are really involved with mindful drinking. The founder, Josh Loyal, was making mocktails years ago in his family bar here in St. Louis.
Okay.
And as I said before, St. Louis is a big drinking culture. I mean, we have the second largest Mardi Gras celebration in the country, and all that information is, popping up in my feed right now. Everybody's preparing for how they can find
Party.
the best drink, B, sneak in, just all this kind of stuff. And so I love the fact that there are people here, even in this strong drinking community, who are taking a stand. I have never met the well-being brewing people, but they're located here.
Okay.
So it's fun to be a part of this where I live. Like, I really am enjoying being a part of that too. So I just wanted to make sure that I shouted out my hometown that way, because
I love that.
there are some great people doing some great things here.
Yeah,
really.
yeah. I need to be better about that. Like, I feel like there's local brands here, and I have not done as much locally, even like local events and stuff. And I feel like, especially now, like people are doing more in real life events, and we're all out and about. Like, COVID's definitely over. We've all moved on. Everybody's doing things again. So I think to do things locally is so important to support the local community and the local brands. Like, I have the Naked like whiskey. They're here in town.
Oh, yes.
They're amazing.
You do, yes.
They're wonderful. Yeah, there's some great brands. So yeah, I need to do better about that. So that's awesome. Yes, to spotlight those who are supporting, who are, helping to grow the industry, because it's
Absolutely.
booming. It's booming.
It is booming,
It's
isn't
booming,
it? I
and
mean,
you can't keep up, right? I mean, I
cannot.
literally can't keep up.
No.
And I feel terrible about it. I feel bad that I can't keep up. I mean, I feel like I walk around with guilt now. I don't have shame from drinking so much. I walk around now with guilt because I'm like, I can't talk about brands that maybe sent me something or whatever. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I feel bad. I feel bad. Okay. All right. So if you go out to a restaurant and they don't have a mocktail on the menu, I know you have amazing background. What do you ask them to make you? What is like your go-to that you request for them to make for you?
So my go-to is a salty dog, an NA salty dog.
Okay.
And I made sure that I wrote this down so I'd get the proportions right. So let me look real quick.
I love it. Yes, go ahead. Let's do it. We'll put it in the show notes too.
Okay. So 3 ounces of grapefruit, and preferably unsweetened. So not the ruby red kind of stuff that you see.
Okay.
1/2 ounce of lime juice. If they don't have lime juice, then sour mix might work. And then 2 ounces of lemon lime soda with a salty rim.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah.
That's a winner. That sounds so good. And it's everything they would have right there. Like, they don't have to go, like,
Right.
oh, we don't have that. We don't have peach, syrup or whatever,
Right. Yeah. That's my go-to drink.
The non-alcoholic salty dog. Okay, we're going to put that in the show. It's 3 ounces of grapefruit, 1/2 ounce of lime juice or sour mix, if they don't have lime juice, right? Or if they assume they have lime juice. And then 2 ounces of lemon lime soda.
And if you prefer it sweeter, I am always running a little more on the tart side. That's my taste preference, but you can add a little more Sprite or 7-Up or Starry or whatever it is if you need to sweeten it up a little.
Sweeten it up. Very nice. Okay. What are your favorite? Do you have any favorite? I know this. I feel like I'm asking, like, which one's your favorite child? Favorite ready to drinks? Favorite non-alcoholic beers, wines, and spirits? I would love to hear some of your favorites. And I know, again, this is what I asked at the Mocktail Summit. I asked all the presenters this, and it was just like, it's hard to answer, but maybe like, if you could only buy one, what would you have?
If it was, I would say the Pathfinder, which I know is I tend to lean along those lines. I love 3 Spirit Nightcap, which is similar. That's really my favorite non-alcoholic spirit. I love, honestly, Victory Wheat by Wellbeing. That's my favorite NA beer.
Yeah. So good.
It is good. And I am not much of a wine drinker, to be honest with you. So ready to drinks can sometimes be my go-to. I love Filia. I love that Forzante, the little can of Filia, Figlia.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's great. Amaretto Sawa by No Leak. I mean, I just love it. It's like, and I mean, that almond taste in the amaretto is really, really good. And then, I love these CBD drinks from different brands. I, of course, love Mighty Kind. I mean, that's one brand that I'm working with.
Locally.
Yeah. And oh my goodness, I don't know, so many. I love Reserve RSRV, the Rosada. Actually, all of theirs are excellent too. There's just too many to name.
It's right. It's overwhelming. Yeah,
it is overwhelming. It is overwhelming.
How many? Right, and I mean, there's no excuse anymore. Like, if somebody's looking for something non-alcoholic to drink, there are so many good things to drink. And even if you don't want to make a mocktail, you don't want to make a non-alcoholic cocktail, there's so many good ready to drinks. You don't have to mix anything up. I mean, you can have a whole bar, just a whole mocktail station with just ready to drinks, right?
You could. Yeah.
So many good things.
I thought of another one. Hold on. Aplos. Oh my gosh. I love those ready to drinks.
I like
Aren't they good?
all of them.
I know.
I like all of them.
I know.
I mean, I know everybody's tastes are different. Some people say things, but I like all of them. I think they're delicious. I think they're like hit the ball out of the park. They're so good.
Well, and that's the thing too. A lot of times, I'll like one thing from a line or two things from a line, and I just haven't ever had anything I don't love.
Aplos is delicious. Yeah. I think I have their little coasters right here somewhere.
Oh,
little Aplos coasters are so cute. Cute. Their stuff is nice. Yes. They sent me like a little lunchbox,
oh, cute.
and I see all your lunch boxes behind you.
Oh, yes. My husband's lunchbox.
That's his lunchbox collection?
Yes. So
that is so cute.
We were trying to figure out a way to display them. So we went to IKEA and bought 99-cent hooks and
I love it. That's so nice. Space. That's perfect.
It's fun.
Yes, it's so perfect. So perfect. Okay. Any advice you'd like to give to anybody who's maybe interested in, who's sober curious or who's just mocktail curious? Any advice you'd like to share with them before we go?
Well, there's a lot of different places that you can go for information, but right now, Instagram seems to be the place. I just feel like there are a lot of creators on there doing all sorts of different things. So that would be one place to start. Derek's book, your book would be another place to start. I love that not all of your drinks use spirits either. Like you have some that are, you just use things that you find in your house. Ginger beer being one of our
yes, for sure, our favorite. Yes.
Yeah. So, and that could be, I could be speaking to my generation there. I mean, as a Gen Xer, I love a print book. I just do.
Yeah. Nice to have it printed.
So other than Instagram, it's those resources. And then of course, the usual, the Flavor Bible, Derek Brown's book, Mindful Mixology, the Cocktail Codex, even just the standard bartender
books, to learn. To learn. Yeah. Well, I need to make sure everybody needs to be following you. Libations _library. Kendall, I love what you're doing. And I love that you're carving out your own path of education and just bite-sized tips and tricks, bite-sized things, so not the 4-page, right? The 4-page. You've broken it down. But it's so meaningful and it's so impactful. So you're making a huge difference in this community. So
thank you so much for saying that.
I mean it. I really I'm so happy to be connected to you. And I'm so happy you joined the membership. I'm so happy
I am too. That was
Thriving Alcohol Free. I love having you there. So, and I know we have happy hours or happy half hours every week. And it's like hit or miss for people to, be able to make it live or whatever. But it's great when we've been able to see you. So
yes, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you for being my guest. Thank you for joining us, Thriving Alcohol Free. Lots and lots of love. Big time cheers to you for tuning in to the Thriving Alcohol Free podcast. I hope you will take something from today's episode and make one small change that will help you to thrive and have fun in life without alcohol. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social, send up a flare, or leave a rating and a review. I am cheering for you as you discover the world of non-alcoholic drinks and as you journey towards authentic freedom. See you in the next episode.